Hello, everyone, and welcome to A New Direction. My name is Jay Izzo, and oh man, I'm not going to tell you something. This is going to be another great show. It is going to be outstanding, and I'm going to tell you why. I have read, you know, right? I read a book a week for this show, right? We've done 200. This will be 234 shows, right? And I've had financial books, and they've been excellent. Best one I've ever read. Best financial book I have ever read. It's called Who's Eating Your Pie? Essential Financial Advice That Will Transform Your Life. Erik Weir. Oh my gosh. I know. Let me just tell you something. Here's why this book is so great. All right. You know, people will talk just about the financial end of things, right? And they'll talk about, oh, you know, do this, do that, you know, invest in this, invest in that, right? No, wait. There is a psychology to it. And here's a beautiful thing. So Erik's probably going to tell a story about, you know, the whole pie thing. He had this 9-year-old son, and he was trying to explain taxes and how it all works, right? He's doing all this, right? And then what he does is he explains it, and he simplified it down, and all of a sudden it grew into something bigger and bigger for him. And then the next thing he does is he starts talking about who's eating your pie. If your finances are pie, who's all eating it? And you'll never guess who the biggest culprit is. I'm not going to spoil it for you, but I know who it is. I know who the biggest culprit that's eating your pie. Yeah. Well, before we get to him, we're going to do what we do every week, right? Okay, here's the deal. Every week, right, we talk to you about you have to be in constant training in 4 areas of your life: your physical, mental, emotional, spiritual. We've interviewed special operations forces guys and even in general on this show, and they've all said the same thing. Listen, you got to grow physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. You got to work on those things every day. If you're not working on those every day, you're not growing. And if you're not growing, you're dying. And so we've got to be doing a little something every day in the physical, the mental, emotional, spiritual. And so this is how we do it. If it's the first time you're joining us, so on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being my training is awful, 10 being my training is outstanding, right? So physically, how would you evaluate yourself on that scale? By getting enough exercise, eating right, drinking enough water, getting enough sleep, right? And then 5 being average, how would you evaluate yourself? Right now, listen, whatever the number is, don't get alarmed, right? Because if you say, oh, well, Jay, I'm only a 2. Okay, you know, that's all right. Because what we're going to do is we probably will apply the 1% rule if we are Erik. But if we're not Erik, what we're going to do is we're just going to do a little something to improve ourselves to get us from a 2 to a 2.5. Okay? That's all we're going to need to do, right? Now, that's your first number. Okay, your second number is your intellectual or mental number, right? And what do I mean by that? Well, my wife says, don't be a couch potato sitting on the couch and expecting things to come at you and somehow you're going to magically absorb information, right? That never works. You need to be an active participant in your intellectual mental growth. You have a right brain and you have a left brain, which means you got to be working on the creative and the logical. By the way, you know what a great way to do that is? Read a book. That helps you grow intellectually. But there's other things you can do. You know what? Learn a foreign language. Take up another instrument. Do something that's going to actively make your mind work so that you could grow and learn. Now, the best thing you could do for yourself, and Erik's going to talk about this too, is what are you doing in the current job that you have? I don't care what it is, that is enhancing what you do. What are you doing to send yourself to school? I'm not talking about paying for college. I'm talking about what are you doing to learn to make yourself better? On a scale of 1 to 10, how would you say that's going? Okay. Third number is the emotional number. Real simple. We could get into emotional quotients and emotional intelligence. Daniel Goleman has written so much work on it. But here's what we do on this show. On a scale of 1 to 10, how would you evaluate yourself in these 2 areas? 1, how well are you able to control your emotions under stress and pressure? And then 2, how well are you able to tap into and understand the emotions of others around you? Because see, if you can handle them stress, because we're in the holiday season, folks. You want to watch the heart of people, just go shopping somewhere. You'll get to see real quickly where people's emotions are at. That same token, are you a good listener? Are you a good listener? And do you really understand what they're trying to say to you emotionally? Scale of 1 to 10, how would you evaluate yourself? And then finally, there's the spiritual area, right? And, you know, I know some of you are going to be out there and you're going to go, hey, Jay, I'm not spiritual. You know, I'm not a spiritual person. You know, I don't believe it. Well, you know what the truth is? You do believe in something. Because something you believe in, you run to when things go bad, and you believe that somehow that helps, right? Or you know what? You live by faith in everything that you do. You got up this morning, you drank your cup of coffee, you believed it wasn't poison because you drank it. You put your key in the car, turned it forward, and turned on because you believed it would turn on. You woke up this morning believing that the sun would actually shine, not knowing that it actually would, or that you would have another day. We all walk by faith.
Mm-hmm.
We all do. And we all believe in something. And whether they believe and how is it working? And it doesn't matter. I mean, whether you believe in God or whether you try to believe in nature or meditation or whatever, how is it working? Does it need to change? Is it changing you? That's a question, right? So on a scale of 1 to 10, how's that going? So those 4 numbers are like air in the tires of your car, right? If the tires are all too low, what happens? Well, you're going to ruin the tire, you're going to ruin the rims, and the car's not going to run well or efficiently. If one of the tires is out of whack, the car's going to go the wrong way, and that's going to make the car run efficiently. We want the tires to be up to the right level and the right height, right? So that we roll well and that we're working efficiently. And speaking of someone who does that, his name is Erik Weir. He is the principal of WCM Global Wealth, LLC, a wealth and advisory firm that serves clients from the biggest multi-platinum and Grammy-winning recording artists, celebrity sports icons, and international clothing designers, to families listed on the Forbes billionaires list, and other notable business owners. As an investor, Erik has partnered in the development of 5 top golf locations in the U.S. As a miserable golfer myself, I like Topgolf. I'm just saying that. And 20 upcoming locations across Europe. He is the previous owner of WTA Media, leader in the film marketing, finance, and literary representation, and has served as executive producer for films, including Unbroken. He's an expert in wealth building, entrepreneurism, goal setting, real estate investment, money management, marketing, and promotion. He speaks to major corporations across the country each year. And you know how I feel about my fellow colleagues who are speakers. Get him. He's that good. He is a lifelong student who has earned degrees and certificates from Harvard University and Georgia State University. Father of 5 sons, and splits his time between Charleston and Greenville, South Carolina. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the show. And welcome to the first time ever to A New Direction, Erik Weir. Erik, welcome to the show.
Hey, thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Thanks for the introduction.
You're very, very welcome. Okay, let's just roll right in this. Who's Eating Your Pie is the name of the book. You've divided this up into sections, and which I love. I love it when authors divide the book up into sections. First section is understanding financial success, which I think is one of the just best sections of books I have read. And chapter 1 is entitled Permission to Dream. And I think, first of all, the title of that chapter is absolutely fabulous because we don't give ourselves permission to dream, and I'm happy to talk about that. But this is also where we get the whole from the issue from the title, The Pies of Life. So explain to us dreaming and the pies of life and how they tie in together.
Yeah, so much like you were talking about earlier, we divide the pies into 5: faith, family, fitness, finances, and friends. Those are the 5 F's of life. And much like the wheels of a spoke, like we're talking about, you do 5 being average, 10 would be perfect. We never really get to a 10, at least not usually. And usually there's an area that we're ignoring to focus on another area, which is fairly normal. But what costs you in time is whatever you ignore for a prolonged period of time will consume you later. So if I ignore my health to pursue my wealth, at some point in time, I will consume my wealth to preserve my health. And it becomes my sole focus where it consumes everything else. So knowing you're ignoring something for a minute is fine, but have a plan to get back on track. And then the biggest limitations we really have in any area, fitness, family, any area, is ourselves. We put limits on ourselves, and we believe lies oftentimes are rooted in our childhood, like you won't amount to anything, or you can't do that, or you're not book smart, or and to the extent we believe these lies, they really are given life and power by the energy we give that. So we need to de-energize the lies, recognize them, take them down, and create new expectations and new belief patterns for our lives and what can be accomplished.
So let's talk about the pies of life. Where did that come from? The story is funny, and yet actually really a great lesson. So talk to us about the pies.
Yeah, well, as you said earlier, I have 5 sons, and I was trying to explain. I was whining about paying taxes. It was probably about this time. Actually, I put a check in the mailbox today, and I could probably be heard whining again about that. So I did that today, and but my son was like, "What's taxation?" And I was trying to explain to his brothers and this and that. Like, what if they did something and you didn't, and they got credit, and they didn't understand it. So his mother brought an apple pie to him, and he really liked it. It was a homemade apple pie. It was absolutely a Norman Rockwell painting quality apple pie. And he goes, "Well, I don't understand taxation." And I said, "Well, taxes have a lot of good things to it, but there are also things sometimes it comes out of your money. You don't necessarily agree with everything that's done with it. But we live in a great country." "Well, I don't understand taxation, Daddy." And I said, "Well, I got my fork and I went into his pie and I took a chunk out of it. And I ate it. His face was like, and he just couldn't even believe that I ate his apple pie. I was like, "Why'd you do that?" I said that's taxation. Let's lift your pie. And he's like, And I said, "Oh." Then I went in for a second bite to explain state tax, FICA, other taxes you pay. And I went in for the second, or a state tax, even worse, right? Going up for the second bite, he blocks me. He blocks me with two hands in my, and I said, that's financial planning. So pie is consumed, financially with taxes or bad decisions, but really our pie is oftentimes consumed with just limiting thoughts. What do we believe about ourselves, right? And that limits our pie.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. That story was so good, and it's so easy for anybody of any age to get. And I think this is one of the reasons why I love this book so much, is because I don't care how old you are. This book is appropriate. You just make it so simple. You ask a question right after that in this chapter: what is rich, and why do we want it? And I thought this was just such a powerful question. Talk to us about that question, why it's so powerful, and why we need to ask ourselves that question.
It's so powerful because I think we all have a view of what rich is. But if you asked a 95-year-old 100 billionaire, would he trade with someone who's 20 years old and sleeping on a park bench, all of his money to start over? He'd probably say yes.
Right.
And so rich can't just be money. It's got to be the ability to make decisions, the ability to have health, wellness, happiness, joy, and to have some amount of flexibility in your life to make decisions and do things. So I think money is part of it, but also your fitness is part of it. Also, your faith is part of it. Your family, your friends, all of that to me goes into defining what wealth is. And the mistake oftentimes we make is focusing on one component of the five and defining that as wealth. And then we really ignore a balanced life and the joys and struggles and challenges that brings, that actually gives you a full life experience, where wealth is not just a number. And it means different things to different people. If you met somebody, I spent some time in the Amazon and met the people who lived in the indigenous of the area, and wealth to them would be very different than somebody who lived in Miami or New York or Los Angeles or anywhere else, and yet they both can articulate it. But if they both think about it, it should go beyond just their experience and their finances.
I thought this was you ask in the book, and by the way, you have in the book little things that you ask us to do. You don't ask us to do a lot, but you do ask us to do a few things and ask us to write them down all the time. And I agree with you that the power, as a psychological professional, one of the things we tell people is, I know that the digital world is convenient, but writing things down do make a tremendous difference. And so I agree with you on that. But one of the things you did tell us to write down is know why. You got to know why you want to build wealth. And I don't think anybody's ever asked that question before. At least I've had on the show or that I've heard ask it. Why is it so important that we should know our why when it comes to building our wealth?
I think why is the driving thing. Like, why do you want something? Why do you want to have a car? Why do you want to have a house? Why? And I try to attach both positive emotion and relational emotion. So I'm trying to think of a goal and I haven't attained yet. I mean, back when I was a kid, I set a goal when I was 18 to pay cash for a Mercedes. And I did that a couple of years later. And I had a picture of the car there, and that meant something to me. I looked at the car, I saw it daily, and I was able to pay cash for it. And I mentioned in the book, that was also one of the most depressed days of my life because I was driving home with the car, and I'm like, is this all there is? I think 20, I paid cash for a Mercedes, and I literally felt down. Then I felt bad for feeling down for paying cash for this car. But I attached so much emotion to owning the car that it was a disappointment. And if you attach emotion to the milestones and the journey and realizing that the car is not the end of the destination, it's just a step along the way you go. And then I find trying to find ways to give back, help somebody, mentor somebody else. That is actually one of the more rewarding things in life that's really not talked about a lot. And if you're like saying, hey, I feel down on myself today, or I'm hurting, or whatever it happens to be, go take time at like a shelter this holiday season and work and handing out meals, or work sorting clothing. I sorted clothing a few years ago, and see if that doesn't change your perspective. Because just the extent we get out of ourselves, we can have a lot more joy and fulfillment, and answer the why questions much better. And then you realize that gratitude and depression can't coexist.
Right.
And also your altitude you soar to and the attitude you live with most of the time typically are tracked to each other. So
Right.
You want to change your altitude, you need to change your attitude.
I love that. Love that. You talk kind of relative to this. There's a subheading that you have is that you share your pie, and you quote Zig Ziglar that says you can have everything in life you want if you'll just help enough other people get what they want.
Right.
And you say, don't miss that, because the secret of having more is giving more. Talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, depending on your faith, the scripture you hear about, you don't outgive God, but you can't give to get. That's a real bad, I think, way to look at things. But giving of something and living something with an open hand, what it does is it releases control. So if I have if you have a business or a relationship or capital or anything, and you try to control it all the time, you'll find that you don't have a lot of satisfaction in that relationship or in that business or with your capital. But if you are flexible and you give, particularly with finances, I give some away, or I give away money to an organization or a church or the Boy Scouts or whatever you want to do, your money no longer controls you. You don't have a scarcity mentality, because how could you give something away if you thought you were going to run out? So just the very fact of giving it away changes your programming that money's not scarce. I have a belief that if you have an idea, you have clarity, you have a use, that there's unlimited funds in the world. You're not bound by what's in your checking account. You either have resources or you have resourcefulness. So anyone with a big enough dream will lack resources. I mean, Elon Musk, when he bought Twitter, it took a minute, and he's the richest guy in the world, right? He had to talk to bankers and organizations and margin stock and sell stock. It wasn't like, hey, I'm gonna write a check for Twitter today. So he was resourceful and had resources, but he still had to use other resources.
Right.
And that's why I tell people, there are people with resources that don't have ideas. So if you have ideas with clarity, with direction, and you can articulate and explain it, you can have access to virtually unlimited resources.
Yeah, it's beautiful. His name's Erik Weir. The book is Who's Eating Your Pie? Essential Financial Advice That Will Transform Your Life. Awesome, isn't it? We're just getting started. You're listening to him here on A New Direction. Folks, my sponsors, two sponsors, Epic Physical Therapy, my physical therapist. I think they should be yours too, by the way. You know what? Listen, whether you're a professional athlete or whether you're just an ordinary guy like me, right, who just likes to work out and get in shape, Maybe you're not moving as well as you thought you should, or you think you should, or maybe you're just not doing as well as you should, or maybe just got some everyday aches and pains. Listen, the certified team at Epic Physical Therapy can help you through all of that. They're going to design a customized treatment program specifically for you, whether when you're looking for your epic relief, your epic recovery, your epic results. Go to epicpt.com. That's EPICPT.com. And Linda Craft Team Realtors, listen, for 37 plus years, they have not been helping people buy and sell houses, even though that's what people assume they do. Actually, what they've helped people do is transition in life. That's the truth. If you think about it, every place that you've ever lived has been a life transition. And for 37 plus years, they've been helping thousands of people all over the world make that transition in life. They would love to help you make your next transition. So whether you're going to sell to make a transition or buy to make your next transition, start with Linda Craft Team Realtors. That's lindacraft.com. And they got a brand new website. Check it out. lindacraft.com, LINDACRAFT.com. And we're back here on A New Direction with Erik Weir. And who's eating your pie? Who doesn't like pie this time of year? We all do. But who's eating your pie? I love this little subheading so much. I got it highlighted over and over again. Growing the pie 1% at a time. And I want you to speak, because this does not just apply to your finances. By the way, this is the beauty of your book, that the things that you talk about here, yes, will absolutely change your financial outlook, but it's going to change your life. I think that's the thing about this book. It's really a complete book, why I loved it so much. So talk about growing your pie 1% at a time.
So the idea is we all set goals. And if I want to make massive change, the mistake that I've made most of my life, and most people do most of the time, is you suspect you'll make massive change immediately. So I want to lose 30 pounds. I'm going to do it all this month, right? Or I want to make $100,000 and I'll do it this month. So whatever happens to be. So what I try to do is say, well, put that aside. That's nice, but it's probably not sustainable. Can I make 1% change today? So if I want to exercise, this is a story I always tell people. If I want to join a health club, and I've thought about it for 10 years, and I've wanted to work out, I'll do 5 push-ups one day, then I'll quit for a month, and I'll be depressed and overeat, or whatever it happens to be. What if you just made 1% change a day? So the first day, I just make the decision, I want to join a health club and work out. So all I do the first day is turn on my computer and I leave. That's it. That's 1% change. Next day, I open Google. Next day, I type health club near me, but I don't press send because I'm moving too fast. That's too much change. Next day I press send. The next day I find the number. The next day I call, but I hang up. So if I talk, I'm making too much change. The next day I talk to them, then I book an appointment, then I go. So in a matter of 10 days, I've gone from doing nothing to being at a health club and changing my life. And I say that because with the rule of compounding, if you take any number, divide it into 72, that's how long it takes to double the result. So if you think about it from this perspective, if I made 10% change or earn a 10% return on my investment, in 7.2 years it doubles. But this is investing in yourself. You can go much faster. So if I make a 1% change per day, then in 72 days I've doubled my productivity. 142 days now I'm starting to double. Now I've doubled the double. So 144 days later, now I've doubled the double. And then you add 72 days, you double the double. And the massive change you make can be incredible.
See, that's beautiful. And it's so simple. It's so elegantly simple. It's just 1%.
That's it. It's easy.
It's just 1% a day. You're just 1% a day. Just be a little better. We're not talking, right? We're not talking about massive changes here. And it doesn't matter what area of your life it is.
That's right. Just a
little. Just a little.
It's just a little bit of change. You can do it with any way. You can do it with relationships. I haven't been nice. I'll be nice today. A little 1% nicer today. We'll be 1% more. We'll go for a walk today. We'll go to dinner next week. 1% change. It can be in anything. And it's progressive and it's not so overwhelming that you just can't take it. And I think that's the important takeaway.
Yeah, beautiful. It's beautiful. Chapter 2, the psychology of success. And the first heading out of there, and I love it. Your biggest limiting factor is limiting thoughts. So let's talk about the voices in our head.
Yes.
Let's talk about the voices. Let's talk about the voices in your head.
Yep.
Let's talk about the voices. Let's talk about the voices in your head. There we go. All right. We had a little technical difficulty there, but I think we're back.
Yep.
We had two streams going on at the same time of you. We had you from two different angles.
Oh my goodness. Okay.
Yeah, that's okay. So your other camera came on. That's what happened.
Okay. Okay. If this was weak, we can switch to the other one if you desire to do so. So
yeah, let's switch it over. Do you mind?
Okay.
That'd be great. Let's switch it over. We're going to do a little technical difficulty. If you're watching us live, this will not be on the podcast. So you're going to listen to the podcast. You will not know that this happened. But for those of us who did that, we're going to remove that.
There we go. I think that's better.
Yeah, we're actually. Oh my, there he is.
Okay, we're back.
We're back. Yeah, let's. Yeah, you're back here. That you look a whole lot cleaner there, Erik.
Okay, good deal.
You do. You look a whole lot cleaner there. Awesome. So chapter 2 is the psychology of success, and the first heading you have is your biggest limiting factor is your limiting thoughts.
Right.
Let's talk about the power of thoughts that affect us and building wealth or building anything in our life for that matter.
Yeah, it's just I meant earlier, like just the lies we believe. So, Henry Ford is very famous for saying, "When I believe I can, or I believe I can. In either case, I am right." So, what do you believe about yourself is really informs your outcome. If you believe you're going to have a miserable marriage, you probably will. If you believe you won't be healthy, you probably will. If you believe you can succeed, you probably will. And then if you combine that with the 1% rule to make change, and then combine that with writing your goals down and reading them regularly, you can be virtually assured of success. And sometimes in life, our goals may pivot. It may change. We may be headed in one direction and decide we want to go in a different direction. And that's okay. But having clarity is so important. And if you take time each day to plan to get the clarity, that will really alter your life. There's just no way around it.
Well, I think, this is the thing that, I've had other success authors on the show talk about, and I talk about this with my coaching clients. What are the things that you're telling yourself?
Right.
Because those things that the self-talk is so limiting. So often what happens is, and you say this, you will say to ourselves, I can't, I shouldn't, I won't, I'll fail, I'll fall. I'm not smart enough. I'm not strong enough. I'm not successful enough. Right. I'm not fill in the blank enough. Right. And then we'll say horrible things to ourselves. You're so stupid. You're so dumb. I can't believe I did that. I'm an idiot. I'm blah, blah, right. And I constantly ask clients this, my professional clients will go, would you say any of those things to your best friend? And they'll go, no.
Great way to look at it. Yeah.
Right. No. And I said, well, why aren't you your own best friend?
Right.
I mean, if you wouldn't say limiting things to your own best friend, why are you saying them to yourself?
Yeah, it's so true. And what's sad oftentimes is you may have heard limiting thoughts from your parents of all things.
Right. Well, we talk
about never do this, you want to accomplish. And in some way they almost mean it to be motivation, but it's not. And it's some of the most damaging things we hear of it from people of authority when we're young.
Yes.
We begin to believe those things. And it's just, so how do you take steps to recognize that's just not true?
Right.
And you can accomplish things. We're living in a wonderful country. There's unlimited resources. And with a little bit of creativity and a little bit of just purposeful, gradual, that's the whole thing. It doesn't have to be overnight. It's gradual, purposeful change will make a massive difference. And the biggest thing people do is they wildly overestimate what they can do very soon. How much change I can make this month, this week, this quarter. Right. But you wildly underestimate what can happen over time. Right. We think we could do a lot in the short, and then we don't think we could do much in the long. It's weird, right? It really is. It's like we're wired to be a sprinter. But if you could be a marathon, which really suits me, walking a long distance suits me much more than any kind of speed
Yeah, no, trust me. My nickname was Plow when I played football. So,
Yeah,
because
my coach told me the earth loves me.
yeah,
Right. You're so
yeah,
tall and you can't dunk. It's crazy.
I know you can barely slip a piece of paper underneath my vertical leap. So I understand it. Uh, Jack Welch, you quote Jack, CEO, GE, and he said once, face reality as it is, not as it was or as you wish it
Yeah.
to be. And you talk about that in terms of success is a decision.
Right.
Talk about success and the decision, why it is a decision and not something that just happens to us.
Success is on purpose. It requires effort. It requires perseverance. And I think for anyone to say that's just not the case, that's just not true. With success comes an invoice. Okay. But with failure comes a much bigger invoice. Not so much a setback failure. I mean, quitting, just full on quitting. Failure, you can learn so much from and it can propel you to success. So don't fear that. But giving up on your dreams is a heavy price tag. And being focused, being purposeful, taking small steps daily, you can accomplish a tremendous amount.
I'm going to read a quote on page 42 from page 42 on your book that you wrote, and I just found it so inspiring and so powerful, and I just felt the need to share it with the audience and with you and have you talk about it a little bit more in detail. The appeal to face reality as it is one of the simplest yet most difficult jobs we're called to perform. It requires us to lay down our masks, quit the excuses, and take a good, hard look in the mirror. That's something few people are prepared to do.
Right.
Yet the happiest, most fulfilled, and most successful people I know are the ones who've had it with trying to look like something they're not and who have not only accepted but embraced who they truly are. Beautifully.
Boy, never the truth. And for me, I had a stutter. The first parts of the book, I talk about a car wreck I'm in. And at age 5, I couldn't speak for a few days and stuttered terribly. It was hazed and picked on in school. It was awful. And I hated that part of myself. And I stuttered into my late 30s. Horribly. Volunteered to be the church greeter. I would go door to door. I did everything. And I stuttered. Cold called Merrill Lynch. And I'm stuttering. And people would hang up on me. It was so kind of a little funny now. Like, what's this, a stuttering stockbroker? Is this Ned? Is that you? Who's that? And bam, they slam up on some on me. But when I went door to door to talk to business owners and you stutter, they stop and listen to you. And they're like, calm down. Come on in, let's talk. And then one day, somebody told me, be grateful for everything in your life. Even those things you wouldn't necessarily be grateful for. Be grateful for the parents you have, even if they're not the best parents.
Right.
Be grateful for the siblings, even not the best siblings, for your setbacks. I'm like, what? Yeah. So I thank you, God, for giving me this stutter that I didn't want, for making me be purposeful with my words and have to work harder for things. And over the next 2 or 3 years, the stutter went away. And what's kind of funny is I gave an interview with Stuttering Magazine. And I really tried. I mean, I was hoping I would stutter during the interview. I didn't stutter. All the times. I've tried my whole life not to stutter. Stuttering Magazine calls, and I'm like, gosh, come on, one time. You almost faked the stutter, but facing yourself where you are is really important, because we all have limitations and setbacks. You don't have to be like everybody else, and that's what makes you unique. Be who you are, own who you are, and then at the same time, be appreciative of other people, and just try to embrace other people and be as much as you can, live at peace with other people. That's really good advice.
Let's talk about the biggest culprit who's stealing your pie, right? And it's the subtitle, "It's Your Fault."
I talked to a group of seniors at a college. I said, you've probably never heard this phrase of words, and you may need to run to a safe space after I talk to you. But it's your fault. And they all laughed. We had a good time together. But it's so true. People really don't want to take blame,
right,
for themselves or what goes wrong. And if you get into something, or the victim, my gosh, the victim mentality,
yes,
is so limiting.
Right.
And I had somebody say, how much at fault do you have to be before it's your fault? Is it 100%? Is it 99? Could it be 5 or 10? If it's 5 or 10, aren't you still at fault? Yeah, I guess I am. Then own it.
Right.
Release everybody else, and life gets so much easier. And then just take responsibility. Even when things don't go your way, just own it. And if nothing else, people respect somebody. As they used to call it, the corporate salute was that. Is that guy, is that guy. You know?
Right. But with it, well, here's the thing. It is your fault, but it's a two-way street.
Yeah.
Right? Okay, so the decisions that you made that went bad, it's your fault. But the decisions that you make right, they're your fault too.
That's right. And that's the most liberating thing is if I'm a victim, then I can't control my destiny.
Right.
If somebody else has to approve of me, then right. I'm always going to be seeking that approval. Right. So if I don't need the approval and I can take the blame, then I can also take the credit. Now, take it humbly. Don't be a jerk about it, right?
Right.
But how do you? But that means that's the good news and the bad news is it all rests on your shoulders, and that's a great place to be.
Well, here's what you say on page 45. You say this means you are the one with all the power. Correct. Not your boss, not your friends, not your competition, not your coworkers, you. And remember, you are the only one who can and should determine what success looks like for you. Beautiful.
That's it. Thank you. That's it.
Right? And then of course you have to go into the second law of thermodynamics, which, you know, I've never thought that I would be saying that on the show, but
some people read too much. I don't know.
There are some of us all of a sudden pick some obscure thing and go, we just talked about the second law of thermodynamics. I think I should bring that up on the show.
Yeah.
In case those of you don't know what it is.
It looks smart in the book, that's all.
That's awesome.
That was my go-to.
That's awesome. So the second law of thermodynamics states that an object in motion tends to stay in motion unless acted upon by an outside force of greater or equal mass. So, Dr. Weir, explain how the law of thermodynamics, this particular law of thermodynamics, how does that work in terms of building wealth and improving ourselves in life?
My belief can overcome other people's doubt. My focus can overcome other things. So if I say internally, we all have like, is this going to happen? I'm nervous, or what am I going to do? I have this deadline, whatever it happens to be. I need to raise capital. I need to study for a test. I need to do whatever. Then break it into steps. And what you'll find is the anxiety for most people ends when you start executing a plan. It ends, or at least greatly diminishes. But when I'm worried and I'm not taking action, anxiety grows. So I break things into steps and I start taking action. And as I take action, I begin to have belief. Maybe it's a little bit at first. Then I take another step and I start, accomplishment, I'm getting closer. Then another one and another one and another one. And I actually have a journal I can show you. I can walk off camera, but I have of probably 1,200 things that have been accomplished over the last years. And this goes back a long time.
Right.
Keep it. And it's like my victory book, because I remind myself when I'm facing a struggle that I've been in a struggle before. Right. I've had doubts before, but I persevered and I took steps and I overcame obstacles and I got it believing, and then I accomplished the goal. And when you look back, you say, there are pages of wins. Why is this one going to be any different?
Yeah. Resilience is so important, and you're in control of it because you're the only one who can get back up again.
That's right.
And, I think it's such, we don't teach resilience in school. We don't hear resilience on the news. It's nobody's ever going to go, oh, be resilient. No, but I'm going to say it. You're going to say it, be resilient, get up. It's not over. You're in charge of that too, by the way. Right. I mean, it's so critical. Resilience is so critical.
It's just not over. And not as a sidebar, but how many people were depressed when they had to stay home with COVID that then found a business that made them a millionaire that they wouldn't have found otherwise?
Right. Absolutely. It's true.
Yeah.
I mean, listen, I created a business out of it. It was awesome. It was perfect.
Right.
So I get it.
I wrote a book out of it. I sat at home saying, well, who's eating your pie? You know,
as, as he,
COVID, yeah.
right, as he's stealing pie from his own kids. Who's eating your pie?
I get the rest of it already. Yeah.
The book is titled Who's Eating Your Pie? His name is Erik Weir. Essential financial advice that will transform your life. You're listening to him here on A New Direction. Epic Physical Therapy, right? Listen, I want to tell you something. They have the most cutting edge, advanced top line equipment, including the Ultra G anti-gravity treadmill, taking pressure off your joints so you can run, the compression sleeves, game ready. That's my favorite. That's ice and compression at the same time. But they're also certified and the most custom, comprehensive cutting edge treatments available. Blood flow restriction therapy, dry needling. That's just a few. Cupping too. Listen, when you're ready for your epic relief, your epic recovery, your epic results, don't look any further. Go to epicpt.com. That's EPICPT.com. And Linda Craft Team Realtors. Listen, I want to just tell you something. We did it was there for Thanksgiving Day where they gave away 700 pies to past clients who made their transition with Linda Craft Team Realtors. Met one of her clients from 1986, 89 years old, still living in the same house. Got to tell you, it was one of the most powerful things I'd ever had in my life was to meet somebody who had worked with Linda. And to this day, she still gets her pie every Thanksgiving. 89 years old, drove herself there. It was amazing. You know what? It says something, doesn't it, about a person that was still, to this day, 36, 37 years later, still finds Linda Craft and her team to be the team to go to. So listen, don't take my word for it. Take the word of her clients. They call her the legend of customer service. Check out lindacraft.com. It's LINDACRAFT.com. And we're back here on A New Direction with my friend Erik Weir and his book, Who's Eating Your Pie? Essential Financial Advice That Will Transform Your Life. And we are moving through the book. Hope you're enjoying it, Erik. I'm having a great time with you.
Always laughing with you is fun.
This has been great. Chapter 3. I love this title. I'm going to do it in my best radio voice. Okay. The Pit of Self-Sabotage.
Yeah.
Okay.
You did a good job. Yeah.
Yeah, this is my best radio voice. I think I can do that.
That's good stuff.
So, because we are the biggest culprit, because you say no one will steal more of your financial pie than you will, which is so true. Yeah, it is.
That's the truth. Yeah, it's our pit of, self-sabotage, self-doubt, self-loathing. So I'm stupid. I can't. My kids would say when they're growing up, like, I'm not good at math or I'm stupid. I'm like, whoa. Never, ever, ever, ever say that. And it took more than one correction, like maybe correction number 347, but it was like I presently struggle with.
Right.
So you're acknowledging it's difficult.
Right.
You're acknowledging it's a struggle, but you're also acknowledging it's only presently.
Right.
And I'm present with this, but I will learn this. And you program your mind because actually, I remember when I would limit myself with certain things like studies or a foreign language or playing an instrument or whatever it was, it's almost like your mind shuts down or you stop and you begin to create excuses and you have things happen that really limit you. Right. But if you say I presently struggle with, you're acknowledging it's difficult. You're acknowledging it's also transitory in nature, and you'll get through this. And the pit of self-sabotage, we all have a tendency to go there. But one of the greatest things for me that I do is, I work out in the morning, and I haven't had a morning yet that I'm like, man, this is so awesome. It's always like awesome when I'm done. But just this morning, I'm on the rowing machine, and it was like 6.5 minutes. And I'm like, I want to stop. I just want to do something else. I'm just tired of this thing. Not that that's a long period of time. I'm going to do 10 or whatever. And then I'm going to do some other machine, like circuit training. But there's hardly a day that I'm like 10 sets, 11. Oh, I'll just skip them. We'll do 12 today. But you start your day beating yourself back, and it kind of sets a tone for the whole day. So for me, it's been a truism. But we all struggle with it, and really controlling and recognizing when you're heading that direction and just acknowledging it's difficult. but just saying I presently struggle with, for me, has been a good tool.
I love see, I'm a believer, and I think you are too, that you know what? I know we call it reframing, but I also will call it scripting. Sometimes you have to script yourself what to say.
Right.
And because those scripts, become, if you say them often enough, long enough, right? Those scripts become reality in your mind. And it's so important that you have something that you can say in place of.
Right.
And to say, listen, I presently struggle with. It's not that I can't, it's just I presently am struggling with it. Because how many people do I know that are baby boomers who say, I can't do technology? I'm like, you know what? The research at the University of Iowa is out there that says they compared, 68-year-olds to 24-year-olds, and when it comes to learning, and you're exactly the same, right?
Interesting. Yeah. Good.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So
Doesn't surprise me. Yeah.
right, it's true. So
Yeah.
the University of Iowa did the study back in 2015, and they continue to do it, and they can't find a difference in learning speed between 24-year-olds, 16-year-olds.
Can't do that. Right.
So it's not that you can't learn technology; it's just that you're presently struggling with it,
Mhm.
right? How much of this time when we say I can't learn something is that we're really saying I don't want to really?
Oh yeah. Yeah. And I always tell people, failure can be scare some people,
Mm,
but other people is a comfortable place.
right.
And it's just like there are people who are just more comfortable being a victim. It didn't
Mm,
work out for somebody else.
yeah.
But if you can get away from that, I presently struggle with, or take ownership, or it's my fault, then it really helps you to gives you back the power. Instead of you're the victim, now you're the person in power. And yeah, maybe you had a setback, maybe you made a mistake, maybe you did something you regret. However, you own it and you got the power to move on. And
Yeah.
that's so critical in life, to remove that. And then when you do that, and then you say, hey, it's still going to be a struggle. I presently struggle with this, but you acknowledge it, but you also frame your mind for it's transitory, and it's so critical.
And you hinted at it because it's a subtitle in this chapter. Failure's easy,
Yeah,
right? But that's what you said. The world, because the world expects you to fail.
it's a
Any,
full turnip truck. It's easy. Yeah,
I mean, because you said anybody can do it.
yeah,
Anybody. By the way, anybody listening to the audience, you can fail. We're letting you know that. By the way, let me tell you how to do it. It takes no effort at all.
right.
And I love that, right? Because now you have no one else to blame. And sometimes I wonder if it's part of a progression in life where we have to hit that rock bottom before we can take that, finally take the responsibility and say, I got to do something about it.
Right. And it's sometimes for some people, and a lot of people, maybe not all the time, but several times in life, that's when you bounce, right? And I met with somebody literally like probably 2 or 3 months ago, and they lost just about everything, and they were like, I don't want to try this new endeavor. And I'm like, hold the phone. I'm like, what do you mean? Because I'm afraid I'll fail. I'm like, let's just walk this out. How much worse does it get? As a kid, my parents are entrepreneurial. I remember seeing my parents' cars repossessed and towed away. And then the house wasn't. They had a tenant move into it, and we didn't have any vehicles. So our only vehicle was a U-Haul that we drove across country. My father started a business. We moved in with some family and drove a relative's car. And within 9 months, my father built a business, and in 1976 dollars sold it for $100,000. It was like, "Wow, he's back,"
Right.
But for me, that was the bottom. Was sleeping on a family member's sofa and not having a vehicle, right? But it wasn't all that bad. You had family conversation, then you had hopes, and you had dreams, you had aspirations, and you had something new to focus on because you're already at the bottom. It's only up from here, right?
Right.
So then it became hopeful and inspirational. And then a year later, you sell a business, and then your whole mind's reframed because now you can come back.
Right.
And you look at Walt Disney, went bankrupt 2 times.
Oh yeah.
And you go, there's so many people in life who've had significant setbacks, but they come back. And I think that's something that you can learn from others and keep hope and keep applying effort.
Well, you use. I asked you to quote Shakespeare earlier before the show, and you, I thought you would quote this one because you wrote this in the book. You said, "Our doubts are traitors and make us lose the good we oft might win by fearing to attempt."
Right.
And this is, you talk about here, focus on the opportunity, not the limit. That's sometimes hard for us. Help us.
Imagine you're a tightrope walker and you're walking across the top between two skyscrapers. You can focus on, this is really going to leave a mark. If I fall off this thing, 110 stories, there's no positive spin on that, babe. You're not coming back. Or you can just focus on the next step. All I've got to do is make this next step. And you look at the building across the way and you walk in the tightrope and you make it. But the person who looks down, that's the one who falls. And it's the same thing in any business endeavor. Don't consume your mind with what could go wrong. Have what could go right. And then focus. This is the outcome I will have. I'm going to follow these steps. And if along the way, I need to adjust and do other steps, I'm still heading toward that outcome. And I will persevere. And that is the difference. Where's your energy go?
Yeah.
I try not to waste any energy or very little energy on the. I mean, it's good to be aware. You got to be aware. But in my book, I talk about sometimes it's heads you win, tails disaster. So focus on the win, right? So
right, yeah.
Wasting energy on the other is bad. How do you get the win?
Right. Yeah, there's we had Dr. Ryan Gottfredson on, and he talked about the 4 mindsets that lead to success, and one of those mindsets is the promotional mindset versus the preventative mindset. Yeah. And we get so caught up into that preventative mindset of I'm afraid to lose, I'm afraid to lose, I'm afraid to lose.
Right.
And we never get into that promotional mindset of going, but what do I've got to win? I can win. I know I can. Right.
Right.
I've got so much more to gain, and it's so true. And that leads me to say one of the things that you say in this little part of the chapter is what you ask the question, what do successful people have that you may not? And it's one word, and you call it vision. And talk about when all you could see are limits, your vision is impaired, is what you say on page 54. Talk about the importance of vision.
So vision is all, at least to me, I define as clarity. So when you're driving down the road, I'm not looking left or right at how fast the pine trees are going by. I'm looking at the distance. And the faster you drive, the further you have to look up and down the road. So if you go to like Porsche driving school, they tell you like you're looking into the turn before you're in the turn. And it's kind of like your steering wheel follows your vision, right? And it's the same thing with goals. And it's vision and it's clarity. And if you think of like horses, when they use them to like pull carriages through cities, they put blinders on the sides of their eyes. And they just keep them focused straight ahead. And that's really the key is having vision, having clarity, and then focusing toward that. And the clearer your vision is, almost like you can taste it. You can know exactly what it's going to be like when you get there. The more energy that clarity of vision gives you.
Yeah. And it does so much for us because you talk about that the key is to connect your vision to someone else's ability, because that's a way that we can build or resources so that we can create the win-wins, but it starts with the vision.
It starts with the vision, and no matter how capable anybody is, you need other people, right? Yeah. Elon Musk is a visionary, but he's not on the line putting the tires on the cars. But somebody needs to do that. Somebody needs to be in accounting. Somebody needs to be, in risk management. But he has a clear vision of providing an excellent product. When he says focus on the product, their marketing budget is zero. You've never seen a Tesla ad. There never will be one. Yet everyone knows about it. All the other auto manufacturers are showing ads all the time.
Right.
All his money on the product and clarity and focus, and it makes a difference.
That's that cool. We've been on an hour.
No way.
Yeah. This has been great. I've really enjoyed it so much. Let people know how they can get a hold of you and learn more about you, what you do, how you help them, and and of course we'll have links to all of that on the blog post that goes with it. So tell them
Yeah,
about you.
yeah, absolutely. So a few things. I'm starting a podcast December 20th. Love
Okay,
you to be on as well.
thank you.
Uh,
Would
it's
have
called Stuttering Your Way to Success with Erik Weir, because I used to have a stutter, right? And then you go to erikweir.com. That's ERIKWEIR.com. And you can download a free chapter of my book, communicate with me. My books are also available on Amazon and Barnes and Noble and bookstores. And I learned today it's in the Miami airport. One of my friends bought one there. Somebody else bought one in LAX and San Diego. So they're in airports at least through January.
That's awesome. Listen, the book is outstanding, folks. You've just heard a little bit. I'm just telling you, right? Powerful, powerful stuff. Get yourself a copy because it's absolutely delicious. See what I did there? Who's eating your pie? You know what, folks? That's the show. I say there's three things that you're absolutely in control of all the time in your life, and that is your attitude, your effort, and getting back up again, your resiliency. Listen, I know that your circumstances may be tough. I know that things may not be the way that they are, that you want them, but I could tell you this. You are in absolute control of your attitude. You are absolutely in control of how excellent you want to be today. And you are the only one who will bring yourself back up again. Take control of them because you can. I'm going to be back next week with another great guest. It's going to be another great book, which means it's going to be obviously another great show. You know what? I know you had many choices. You chose us. Thank you. And as I say to you all over the world, you know what that is. Ciao, everybody.